Hey, welcome to Trap Souls. I am Ryan. I'm here with Maxim Furek, a paranormal author out of Pennsylvania, I believe, but right now sitting down in cold weather Florida. He's written many books: The Smurl Haunting, Coal Region Hoodoo, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, Paranormal Apocalypse, and many more. So, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I've heard so much about Trap Souls and really appreciate the invitation. So thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. I was excited. You reached out to me, and I was like, man, an author. I mean, I haven't had one of those on yet. So, I was pretty excited about it. I did read, I was telling you, I did read, your latest book, The Smurl Haunting, and we'll get in that in a little bit. But what got you into the paranormal?
Well, I think I'm a baby boomer. I think that for one thing, we were raised on the occult, on the supernatural, and the paranormal. We were raised with things like Twilight Zone and Inner Sanctum and One Step Beyond and all of those things. I mean, we were surrounded by that, and I think a lot of science fiction movies, comic books. I mean that was my my passion, my joy. And a lot of my friends, we would read comic books together or go see the movies together. So we had an education and we knew about science fiction themes, about vampires and about Dracula and about, Frankenstein and all that. So all of those things, I spoke to us, especially spoke to me, and I stayed with it. And when people ask me why did I get into that, I think the real reason is it's the same reason for everybody. We're fascinated by the unknown and we want to try to figure it out and see what it is. So for all of us, I think it's a combination of curiosity and fear. We're a bit afraid of the unknown, but through the curiosity, we can look at it vicariously, figure it out, and be safe with it. So I think that's why I do it. But I'm not really sure. But what I do know, what I'm sure of, is that I have a real passion for the paranormal. I love all aspects of it, and that's why I continue to write books across the spectrum, like whether it's flying saucers or Bigfoot and cryptids or demonology. I mean, I like all of this stuff, and I look at it more or less as an academic, to try to figure it out.
Have you ever investigated or you just do research?
I just do research, but I've been to certain places. I'll tell you what, there's one place back home in northeastern Pennsylvania called the Garrison House. And it was an old schoolhouse that's now boarded up. And what happened was there were some workers there. And this place had been boarded up for years and years. Well, they saw this little boy on the second floor. Now, nobody should have been there, let alone a little kid. So they told the local electrician, and he had some sort of a heat sensing device. And they went there and they were able to pick up the heat signature in the middle of the hallway on the second floor. It wasn't from an animal, or it wasn't something small, it wasn't a bat or a rat, but it was like a larger size. So again, all they had was that heat signature, and a whole bunch of people that were not true believers. They were not investigators. But and this was in my hometown, so when I heard about this, I went over there and saw it, what they had seen, and had heard about it secondhand. So it surrounds me. It surrounds me, and I know so many people that are ghost hunters that tell me about what they've seen and why they do it, and so it's almost like second nature to me to hear about this. But no, I don't go ghost hunting per se. But again, I do know a whole lot of ghost hunters and people that are into the paranormal.
Now, everybody out there that's listening, don't like shy away from his books because he does not do investigations. But I said I read the Smurl Haunting, and he is like, sorry, I don't want to age you here, but old school reporter. Like he goes out there and he does the research, talks to everybody, and we'll talk about the Smurl Haunting. I mean, you interviewed a lot of people for that.
Yeah, I did. But let's get back. First of all, thank you for defending me for not being a ghost hunter. But I get attacked by some of the Bigfoot hunters for not being boots on the ground. Well, in the same token, I don't believe that Bigfoot is flesh and blood. I believe that it's interdimensional. So, I'm not in that camp. I'm in what they call the woo camp. They call me Dr. Woo. That's okay. I mean, that theory, I think, with the interdimensional theory, like Jacques Vallée talked about that, and so did John Keel, that makes more sense to me than flesh and blood. And I say this because, and with all due respect to Bigfoot hunters, but we have never found a carcass and we've never found legitimate DNA. What we do have is we have a lot of stuff. I'm not discounting it, but we have things like eyewitnesses, we have the smells, the sounds, we have the structures, we have the rocks that are thrown at them, and a lot, and the smell. But again, no carcass. Nothing that would really prove this scientifically. What we have is what J. Allen Hynek would talk about as high strangeness. We have elements of high strangeness, and so one or two, maybe the sound and the smell might be one thing, but when you have eyewitnesses and the structures and the wood knocks, you have a whole plethora of things of high strangeness that maybe one or two is a coincidence, but when you have 3, 4, or 5, it's something else. And we need to take a look at that and accept that there's something that's significant here and also credible. So, that's my take on Sasquatchery, but and even in demonology, I mean, we're looking for similar things. And we have evidence, with the captured the sounds and video and all that. So, I mean, we just need to keep on looking and trying to uphold the scientific method in order to get the respect from the scientific community and also the public at large. We are not quacks, we're not crazy zealots. We're citizen scientists trying to find some answers.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, that's why we do it. Bigfoot, paranormal, UFOs, there's really no hard evidence that they exist.
Right.
But you're talking Bigfoot and spirits going back to before the Native Americans were here.
So yeah, I know. With when we first heard about Bigfoot, I think it was in Humboldt, California. There was a newspaper, I want to say around 1965, that had this article about the California abominable snowman, also known as Bigfoot. And when they printed this, that Humboldt Times in Northern California had thousands of letters, people saying, yes, I believe in this, and yes, I have seen this thing. It went viral. It hit the wire services, and that's when Bigfoot became part of our Western lexicon. Everybody knew about Bigfoot, and but this was early on. This was for us white people. The coastal peoples in British Columbia had talked about Sasquatch for thousands of years, and we know this because of totem poles and the spoken, the oral tradition, the spoken language, and the legend. So Sasquatch has been around for a long time, and we just heard about it just recently. So that's how that played out.
Yeah, we're talking like inner dimensions. That's big in a paranormal now too. People are saying it's different dimensions, multiverses, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, it's
and again, when you talk about, I'm getting hot here in my office here in Florida, but when you talk about it, just for one thing, with the interdimensional travel, okay, so they're going to travel from a planet that's millions of light years away and come here to Earth. That takes time and energy. It's impossible to think of anybody having that kind of energy that can be transported across those trillions of light years of miles. That's sort of archaic thinking. It's old-fashioned thinking. But Jacques Vallée was one of them that talked about the interdimensional theory, that it makes more sense to look at that. And it was Einstein and Rosen that said if you could take the space-time continuum and fold it in half and just punch it through right there, you could go from A to B, in a microsecond. So that's the theory that Einstein and Rosen were talking about, and that's the one that Jacques Vallée and John Keel and so many others expanded on. And after my research, I mean, this is the theory that makes the most sense to me, the interdimensional theory of space travel, and also I want to say of cryptids like Bigfoot. You know, uh, we don't see them, we can't see them, but yet I think that they shape shift in between these dimensions. And we talk about uh, bilocation. We talk about them. You see a Bigfoot in front of you, then they're behind you. They just they travel in ways that defy the scientific method. So we just don't exactly know how they do it, but one thing about Bigfoot is that the sightings, this is something that lends credibility to it. The majority of the sightings seem to be the same, that they say Bigfoot uh, doesn't reflect light, but emits light from the eyes, that it doesn't walk, it glides, that it can communicate telepathically, just a lot of things that many people share in common. That they when they see one of those. Back home in Pennsylvania, a friend of mine was a sheriff, and he got a call from this older guy, this gentleman, that it was about 11 o'clock at night, and the guy was taking his dog out to take a leak, and he saw this Bigfoot-like creature. So he called the sheriff, this guy Craig, and Craig went there, and the guy said, I saw this 11-foot Bigfoot-like creature, and he goes, I wasn't scared. And Craig, the sheriff, goes, well, why weren't you scared? And the guy said, I wasn't scared because Bigfoot had kind eyes. He had kind eyes. Now, it's the first time I had heard of that. But that was in my backyard in northeastern Pennsylvania. And then 2 years ago, in my book, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, my neighbor was going through the cemetery, and he saw not one but two Bigfoot. One was cinnamon color and the other one's black. One was larger than the other. And I talked to him at length about what exactly he saw. And he said that they looked at me like they were curious, not that they were afraid. And they turned and then they walked away, walked like humans. And then we went over there and looked for tracks. We couldn't find any tracks. But I did call Stan Gordon, and Stan Gordon's the guy in Western Pennsylvania that sort of is the keeper of the key. He keeps tabs on all these things. And so Stan called my neighbor Joe and took his account and then put it into his record. But what's interesting about Western Pennsylvania, we have this guy, Stan Gordon. Whenever the state police get a report on Bigfoot sightings or Dogman, any of the flying saucers, they say call Stan Gordon. And so Stan Gordon will take their account and document this. And he's the closest thing that we have to an archive where we have all this wonderful information. Now, when you read his books, it's dry, but it's really good information. Like for example, one account might be that Farmer Brown and his wife were going out to the barn at 6 o'clock at night to feed the cow, where they saw a Bigfoot creature emerging from an orb or a flying saucer. So this would be a typical Stan Gordon narrative, that he will tell you where it took place and how and what time and everything. So he was good with that documentation, and he has just hundreds of accounts, that he's either personally investigated or the state police have put him in touch with these folks. So we're just fortunate to have somebody like that in our neighborhood.
Yeah. So what do you think about like the rumors or whatever that the government studies Bigfoot, try to capture or study them?
Yeah, I think that whatever's out there, I think the government has its finger in it somehow. I think they're always looking for something to get the edge, the military edge. And so if it's Bigfoot, yes. But, I think more about, we talk about Montauk. A lot of people think that Montauk in Long Island is this center where the government had all kinds of experiments with time travel and remote viewing and all things like that, ESP. I don't think I think they do, but I don't think it's at Montauk. I think it's all over the place. I'll give you an example. I was doing a presentation. I was a guest speaker at a paranormal conference a couple of years ago, and one of the guys in the audience was from San Francisco. He worked for the government in remote viewing, And I wanted to pick his brain and just find out what, what actually he did. And he just told me right off that he can't tell me anything. He couldn't share anything. But Jacques Vallée was allegedly a remote viewer, and he had been able to develop that sense. But but what I'm saying is I think the government is involved in all of that, remote viewing and time travel, all of that, just to see if there's a military application for it. And so, yeah, I think that the government's probably involved in Bigfoot just as they're involved in Roswell and these non-human creatures and saucers that David Grush talked about.
Yeah, and I always said, like, I had one group on here, Culinary Institute of America was up for Appalachia, not culinary, cryptid. Sorry, my buddy went to Culinary Institute, but cryptid. And they, we talked about it, like, even if the government knows Bigfoot is real and has proof of it, there's no way they can say that, because everybody will be out in the woods. Everybody will be shooting at everything. I mean, it'll be ridiculous. So it's kind of like UFOs. That would be a panic.
Yeah. Well, what was there was a study, was it the Robinson study? It was back in the 50s, I believe, maybe early 60s, but they said that if the public knew that there was alien life forms out there, that it would change everything, that we would view religion differently. We would we would look at God and Jesus in a different light, and this report, didn't think that humans would be able to accept that kind of information, without getting really troubled and disturbed and maybe even, psychotic. So that was the thing. I don't know. I know that the closest we came to that in recent times was the drone hysteria of 2024, when we saw these drones over New Jersey, and we're waiting for an explanation from the government, from official sources, and we never got anything. Never.
No.
I mean, we didn't get it from the Biden administration. Trump, who was a president-elect, did his part to muck it up and say that there was a conspiracy, that the truth is being held from us. But everybody involved in that just messed it up and mucked it up and made it even more horrific than it was. People saying, one representative from South Carolina saying that she believed it was aliens, doing that. The guy that made the drones, a drone manufacturer, conjectured that terrorists had stolen an atomic device from Ukraine, brought it over to New Jersey, and it was government drones flying over Jersey looking for that heat signature. So we had everything thrown at us and never came to any proper conclusion. There was never any ending to this. There was no conclusion. And, to this day, I think people are apprehensive and frustrated. And if you don't think that this was bad, go back another year. That was 2023. The Chinese weather balloons, as big as a couple of buses, what was the end result there? We thought they were spy machines. China said, no, they were just weather devices. I mean, again, we shot down a couple, Canada and the Atlantic, but again, there was never any closure in 2023 or 2024. So, we tend to live in an era of, expectation, but also frustration. We're not getting the answers that we need. And I think maybe that's driving paranormal investigators to do their own research and find out what's out there, because the government's not telling us anything.
No, every time that something happens, something bigger is going to happen to deflect it. So you just like, the whole deflect type thing is, you're talking about, weather balloons, and all of a sudden something else happens. So then you forget about the weather balloons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what you call that, but it's almost like, switching the balls under the cups, so. But I think that the other thing too, this is interesting. We had congressional UFO hearings in July of 2023. We had them in November of 2024, and we had them in September of 2025. Nothing came from that. There was no information. All we heard was from like David Grush that he knows where the bodies are and he knows where the crashed saucers are. And he'll share that information with the right people at the right time. That's what we got. And then with Luis Elizondo in 2024, he said that yes, there's a cover up. The government's not being transparent. They know something and they're not telling us. That's all we get. We're not getting, and I think it works like this. I think all of this works on a need to know basis. I don't think these politicians, I don't think Donald Trump will ever get to the conclusive evidence, to see what we know, because they don't have the need to know. And I think there's clandestine black ops that are deeper than the CIA and FBI and all the other ones that we don't even know about. They're being funded. There's billions of dollars being funded to them, from the Defense Department, but we don't know who they are and what they're doing. And they're sort of like rogue operatives, just doing their own thing, and hopefully for the benefit of the country. But again, there's that plausible deniability too, that what they're doing, the president and his people don't know. And so then when they deny it, I mean, they're actually telling the truth because
Yeah.
they don't know. They don't know.
But I mean, honestly, do you want? I mean, of course, we want to know the answers, but I mean, we're based off Hollywood. Name movies that when aliens come down, that ends good.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't any, really. It's always they want to take over the Earth. So if they came out and say, yes, there's aliens, people are going to freak out because
Yeah.
people live in fear.
Yeah, exactly. People do live in fear, and like we're driven in fear. And my book, Paranormal Apocalypse, is this how it ends? It's all about fear being the driving force for all this stuff. Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, would I want to know? I guess I would want to know. I mean, but that's a great question. I mean, if we had the opportunity to know everything that the government knows, would you want to know that? I mean, knowing that there's some things that have happened that just have been really bad for the country, just like weren't whether it's I don't know, just the racist past or whatever. But I don't know. These are important questions.
Yeah.
I just wish that there was more transparency. And again, I remember July of 2023, I was riveted to the TV watching David Grush, Pennsylvania guy, talking about this and thinking, finally, we're going to find the answer. We're going to come to the conclusion. And again, that was July of 2023. He had all that time to go and talk to the right people and tell them what he knows. He said that he wouldn't do it because it was classified information. Well, classified information is really not very serious when you look at top secret and all the other levels. So I'm not sure, but Grush, who made the front page back in 2023, you don't hear too much about him now. So I don't know what the answer is, or even with Luis Elizondo, who had a book with all kinds of these photo ops with all of his buddies. I mean, that book did well, but again, I don't know if we're any closer to the truth. And I'm saying that we're not.
Yeah. I mean, we always want to know the answers till we know them. That's the whole thing. All right, let's get off aliens. Let's talk about the Smurl Haunting a little bit. So I read your book. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of names. I liked it because it's a lot of research and you quote a lot of people, but you also give your opinion a little bit in there too.
Yeah, which I guess within the traditional journalism, you don't do that. You should be more. I suppose they're more objective than subjective. But if I have a belief in something, then I think I'm going to say it. For example, in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, I went out of my way to call out the hoaxers, and there've been a whole history of people that have just been disingenuous. They've hoaxed Bigfoot creatures and all that, and I talk about that because I just think it's wrong, and I think it really dirties or the paranormal realm. And so, I don't believe in that. But yeah, I spent a lot of time researching the Smurl haunting, which happened to be in my backyard. I'm from Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, and the Smurl haunting was in West Pittston. That was maybe 30 minutes away from where I'm from. So I was there when this thing happened. I mean, I was taking pictures, talking to the neighbors. But Ryan, I never talked to the Schmerls only out of respect for them. And they were under attack by alleged demonic infestation, by a relentless paparazzi. And Janet Schmerl talked about these hundreds of reporters that would call her asking for exclusive interviews, international reporters, the paparazzi. And then there was a public that did not believe them. And of course, the reason they didn't believe them was they said the Schmerls were making money. The Schmerls were making money. So this was all about making money. So there was no place to turn for the Schmerls other than their church. And being Catholics, they started to invite the priest over to go and check out the house and see what they could see. So, but that, I think it was their good fortune that they were professed Catholics, but also it was their fate. I believe that I believe that the Schmerl family had a target on their back because they were Christians. And I think the devil scores more points when he takes down, these, people that have devoted their life to the Lord and the Christian ethics. So, and it's not just Christianity, but you have the same thing in Islam, with the demons and the exorcisms.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, like in your book, and you talked about everybody has their opinions about it, obviously, but they're always like, well, why did this happen since they're so religion based?
Yeah.
And why did it happen to them? Because of they have faith.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's who they're going to attack.
Yeah, that's my belief too. That's why they were attacked. And also throughout the Bible, there's people like Job and all these people that were being challenged to see if they would stand by their faith, and they were challenged by all kinds of horrible things. So I think the Schmerls certainly fit into that category. I mean, and it started slowly, and then it got more out of control. But your typical haunted house with the knocks, the smells, rooms that became frigid, cold, profanities etched on the steam glass of the mirror, in the bathroom, things like that. And then it was personal. And I compare the Smurl house with Amityville, with the Hinsdale house, with the damned Wells house in Wilkes-Barre. And I believe that the Smurl house was a lot more dramatic and more violent. And that was because Jack Smurl claimed that he was raped by a female demon, a succubus. Janet Smurl also claimed that she had been sexually molested by something. So you didn't find that in the other hauntings. They were bad. They were demonic. Certainly Hinsdale was a bad one, but the Smurl house seemed to be the worst. So, but given that, I mean, that's one fact. But the other thing is that Father Treble, who did 4 exorcisms to cleanse the Smurl house, but he wasn't able to cleanse the Hinsdale house in Western New York. And he said that some ground is just evil. You just have to leave. Don't tell anybody where you're going. Take your belongings and leave. He goes, this Hinsdale place was a road to hell. And he could not cleanse the house. So there was something happening there in the Hinsdale house that Treble, who was just an amazing exorcist, was not able to touch. And all we can say is that it was just like, maybe in this case, maybe it wasn't just one demon. Maybe there was a legion of demons, and that's why he wasn't able to go and fight them and beat them down. So that's what I think. Again, my subjective opinion.
Yes. No. Now, I was thinking about this the other day about, exorcisms and cleansing and all that. Are you just getting rid of the demons in that house, or are they just going to go somewhere else?
Well, either or, yeah. Demonic energies infest people, places, and things. They could stay there. They could get locked in and stay there, or they could go someplace else. Maybe traveling with an object like Annabelle. Maybe traveling with a person, say Jack Schmerl. Different pathways. From what we think we know of the demonic, we think there's a progression. It goes from temptation to infestation to obsession to possession. And, we think that there's different ways to become possessed, whether it's through somebody putting a curse on you, or maybe dabbling in things like Ouija boards that could open up the portal to something of the demonic. From being a Christian and having a mark on your back. Who knows? Who knows what's in the mind of the devil? And when people ask me that, I said, I don't dance with the devil. I don't know why the devil does what he or she does. But we know that it all starts with temptation, and we're always tempted, whether you're a Christian or an agnostic or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's always that temptation to deal with. And when you talk to clergy, when you talk to exorcists, they say that even when you go ghost hunting, you need to be on firm ground. Maybe bring holy water, maybe bring a crucifix, maybe say the prayer of Saint Michael the Archangel. I don't know what you do, but maybe go into that haunted house filled with God's grace as a weapon against, a possible demon that you might run into. So again, this is people that I talk to. That's what they do. They do like a ritual, they do a prayer, they do a cleansing before they go in there, rather than just going in there like willy-nilly,
Mhm.
without being prepared. So I think if you at least have it in your head that you're safe and you're protected, that's a beginning. You have that in your head, not the demonic. And again, it's what do you fill your head with? You fill your head with God's grace and the prayers, or something else. So again, that's how I look at it. And I believe that, in my book, you either believe that evil exists and the devil exists, which I do, and that's what the Smurl Haunting is all about. Or if you don't, then you believe all this stuff is sort of like a fairy tale, and it's old fashioned, old school, something that the church, religion used to keep us in line. Like, Ryan, if you don't say your prayers, you're going to go to hell. If you don't do this, the devil's going to get you. So and again, you talked about fear. We've been raised in fear since little children, and by our parents, and also by religion. So, and by politics, the Cold War. Wow, what a horrible thing. So, where the fear surrounds us, and the key is to get yourself grounded and deal with it and find that strength within.
Yeah.
Your intentions will lead you into your future. It's exactly, how you view things. And if you have positive intentions, and that will be, how you face the future, and how you confront it. Yeah,
Yeah.
good quote.
Yeah. I always tell everybody, like, because everybody does like their, some witchy stuff, crystals, and they'll pray, they'll sage, whatever they want to do.
Yes, yeah.
I'm a big believer just positive energy.
Okay.
Like, I go in there positive with my faith, and I'm
Yep.
good. I don't need to pray because I know what my feelings are.
Hmm.
A positive energy. We always say negative energy will bring negative energy. I think positive energy will deflect negative energy. Will they try to attack a little more because, the stronger, not the strongest one down type thing? Usually not. But the places we do investigate, I really don't think there's any demons there because they're public places. Like you said, there's Smurl Haunting. All those hauntings were families, certain people. Like, everybody wants to go in these places, say there's a demon in there. There's not. Like, let's be realistic. There's not a demon at Madison Seminary. There's not a demon there. Could they be there? Yes, but I highly doubt it. They're going to go after the families and get attached to families or certain people. They're not sitting.
Yeah, it's my understanding that with this temptation, with the infestation, that it's a lot easier to get children, to get people that are addicted, to get people that are mentally ill. These are the most vulnerable people in our society. So those people are not on firm ground. You know, they're not filled with confidence and positive energy. So I could see how they would be likely candidates because they're so vulnerable.
But also kids. I mean, you're a kid. You know, you go on a sled hill. It's all ice. You know, you're 10 years old. Yeah, I'm doing that. Nowadays, I'm like, no, I'm gonna get hurt.
Yeah,
So they don't fear as much.
true. Yeah.
So maybe they're opening themselves up to something because they don't fear it.
Yeah, a good point. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, that's a great theory. Yeah. So, but again, being more vulnerable, being more open to things, you know,
Yeah.
being more susceptible to things. So, you know, not as guarded as we are. You know, as you get older, you become a little bit more guarded and cautious. You know,
Yeah.
there's some bad things out there, so you're going to watch them. You know, and even with the kids, I mean, they teach them at an early age: stranger danger. Watch who you
Yeah.
talk to. Have a safe house. If somebody's following you, you go to the safe house. You know, Mrs. Jones will let you in. I mean, whatever that is. And you know, we never had that as kids growing up. But I mean, this is the day and age of, you know, what we're living with. But then again, back in my youth, I mean, I hitchhiked across the United States. Back in those days, I mean, you didn't think about serial killers and people, you know, slashing your throat. I mean, we did that a lot. I mean, it was fun, you know. So,
Yeah. What about kids? Like a lot of people say children spirits. There's no such thing as children spirits. They're just demonic trying to make you feel more comfortable. I mean, I have a theory on it. I just want to see what you think about it.
well, maybe it could be the demon either manipulating another spirit, maybe you know, a childlike spirit, or it could be the demon you know, imitating that child and using that as a ploy. I mean, you know, any way, you know, many roads lead to the same place. So you know, and even in the realm of the demonic, I'm sure that there's different ways that for this to be sliced and diced. But I do believe, I think that you know, demonic energies are more prevalent than we realize, and maybe we disagree on that point, but just from what I've heard and people that I've talked to, you know, just the things that they've seen and experienced. I was at the well, this is close to Ohio, but I was at the 2025 Butler Paranormal Conference last year, and I was one of the guest speakers. But the psychic Vincent sisters were there, and there was this guy there that claimed he had been attacked by a demon. He thought it was a succubus, and he showed pictures of his chest being ripped open and his eyeball, and just, I mean, he was really pretty much mutilated. So I saw the pictures, and you know, they looked very realistic and everything. And I talked to him afterwards. So uh, he was a solitary ghost hunter. He went in there by himself, but I believe he would try to provoke these spirits, and he would do things that I think a lot of us wouldn't do. So I think that some of his uh, what he did, what he attempted to do, might have just disturbed them, might have violated them, might have even disrespected them. So I think that you get what you give, and I think that he just wasn't respectful of these spirits. But I saw what happened, and you know, it scared me.
Yeah, I mean, even in life, like, you know, living human beings, when someone disrespects you, you're going to step up. Most people are. So if you're going to a haunted place that may have demonic spirits in there and you're going to disrespect them, they're going to step up and you're probably not going to like what happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah, I mean, Southern Ohio Paranormal Society here talking about like demons and these pay to play places. I mean, most of the time at these locations we go to is not enough time for them to break through to attach.
Mhm.
That's true because it's always different people in there. So I mean, like you said, they're going to break you down. Demons are going to try to break you down, temptation, and then do whatever.
Mhm.
So, but you know, I only go to places once every couple months, the same one. So they want to have time to break me down.
Yeah, they talk about the dark tourism where people pay money to go into these haunted houses and all that, and that's what you refer to as the pay to play. But um, how lucrative do you think that market is? I mean, do you have any places there in Ohio where people go to, they pay to go and spend the night there, looking for demons?
Not demons. I mean,
Or ghosts, rather, ghosts or
yeah,
spirits?
ghost spirits. Yeah, I mean, every place is pay to play pretty much around here now. I mean, all United States, it's a business.
Yeah.
Some people try to make it a business. Some people just want to keep those buildings up. So, they charge a little bit, and that's just pretty much to keep the building standing because it's historical.
Yeah. Okay.
If they weren't doing this, then they'd probably be torn down into a park lot or medical buildings or a data center. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I know that when I talk to ghost hunters, they say that one of the reasons they do it is to preserve the history and
Yeah,
preserve the culture, and then to inform others about what they found. So, that sounds like a pretty worthy thing to do.
it is. And it's not even about like I just went to one, the other night and we didn't really get much. I think it was mostly residual there, energy, but it was a cool building. And I got to see the history of the building and what happened there and hear the stories. And that's worth it to me. I mean, I like history. So
Hmm.
to go to these places and just walk around and see these unbelievable places. And most of these places we go to are like state asylums or poorhouses, poor farms, kind of a dark history in our time, the way they were
Right.
treated.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so
So
there may be a lot of spirits, or trapped spirits, wandering, confused, hurt, all that. So, we find a lot of that in Gettysburg,
yeah.
with the soldiers and that.
Yeah, I think Gettysburg's mostly residual energy there 'cause there's so much energy there.
Hmm.
But I mean, you talk about like the mentally handicapped, being not demonic, but a little darker because they're childlike minds. And that's the asylums are very active because of that,
Hmm.
and I think that some of the kids' spirits that you see are probably adults that believe they're kids. That's the way they picture themselves.
Okay. Okay.
So when they pass and, you know, when they pass, they still believe they're a kid. So even though they're, 40 years old. So I think that's some of the spirits that we see that are childlike.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously we'll never know. So
Well, you put together a theory and then you float it, and then you have other people take a look at it and say either, yeah, that works or it doesn't. So that's all we can do. We can put together theories of what
yeah,
we think is happening there. I like what you said about the ghost hunters sort of being the preservers of the culture and the history. I think that's important. And that's important for the genre, just as I think that Sasquatchers, those that go out looking for Bigfoot, need to be, I think, protectors of the environment. And I wish that that message would be a little bit louder, because I think that that would just play so well, to say that Bigfoot, people looking for Bigfoot aren't just like some kind of freaks, freakaholics, these unhinged people looking for something that doesn't exist, but they're people that want to preserve the environment, just like the coastal people said that Sasquatch was a protector of the environment, and to see Sasquatch was a sacred thing. And so I think that there's a lot we could do to make our genres of the cryptid hunting and also ghost hunting something that's just a little bit more respectable to the general public, and I think that
yeah,
there's ways for us to do that. So
there is. I mean, paranormal is going up and down, up and down. I mean, I got on social media about 2 years ago with the paranormal, and it's like it was great. Then it's all drama. Then it's great again. Then it's all drama. No one likes me. No one will work with me. It's up and down. I mean, it's
I
just
know, but yeah, but where's that drama coming from? I mean, I see a lot of that in Western Pennsylvania. A lot of those Bigfoot guys, they don't like each other. So
yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I work with a lot of other groups. Again, I have a podcast for people to get to know these other groups, and it's just I don't know. I don't deal with drama. Like if you came on my show and just started talking about other groups, I'd just probably mute you and kick you out. That's just who I
Yeah,
am.
yeah, yeah.
I'm here for you guys. But I don't see it. I see it on Facebook, the drama. Everybody creates their own drama.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's drama, it's probably because of you. Look in the mirror.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, in the Smurl Haunting, then there were three things I think that I write in the introduction that there was something that was channeled through me to make me write this book, and
Yeah.
there were three things that I just wanted to talk about if I could. One was that the Smurl Haunting in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, was in my backyard, so I went there frequently during the '80s to check this out. In 1988. Bob Curran, a local reporter, wrote a book called The Haunted. And yeah, so it was called The Haunted. And here it has, this was a reprint, but it has Ed and Lorraine Warren at the top. Well, Ed and Lorraine Warren were actually the co-writers after Bob Curran, but it was also Ed and Lorraine Warren and Jack and Janet Smurl. But anyway, this came out in 1988. So Ed and Lorraine started a 15-city book tour in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. And that's where they have the old jailhouse where it has the bloody handprint. There was a Molly Maguire that they hung for something that he didn't do. And he said before they killed him, he put his bloody handprint there. He said that this handprint will stay here until I am found innocent. So it's been there for years, for decades. But anyway, Ed and Lorraine Warren started their tour in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. So I got permission to go and interview them. I hung out with them. I took pictures that are in the Smurl Haunting. I mean, this picture here, 1988, that was the picture I took of them. That's on the front and back cover. But anyway, I stayed in touch with them over the years, and I would call Lorraine. I would call Ed, and Lorraine usually would answer the phone, and she had a pet rooster called Einstein, so you could hear this rooster in the background. But they were really nice people. They treated me respectfully. They answered my questions, and I would ask Ed about demonology and how he fought these demons and what he did. And Ed always talked about through a Christian perspective that he would invoke the spirit of Jesus Christ, of St. Michael the Archangel, and of Padre Pio to do battle with these demons. But throughout the years, I kept in touch with them, until they died. So knowing the Schmerls or the Warrens was the second thing. And then the third thing was last year, it was July the 11th, 2025, that I went to Gettysburg to see Annabelle. And I met Dan Rivera, and we talked, and I told Dan that I was working on a book called The Smurl Haunting. And we talked about the Schmerls and Ed and Lorraine. And Dan Rivera agreed to do a phone interview with me on Monday the 14th. And that was when he was after this 3-day gig in Gettysburg with Annabelle. And so we were going to do that. And here I got a phone call, and here Dan Rivera had died on Sunday the 13th. He died the day before I was supposed to do the phone interview with him. And some of the reporters said that I was one of the last paranormal researchers to talk to him before he died. But it was really too bad. The coroner, they did an autopsy, and the coroner said that he died of natural causes, that he had cardiac issues. And so that's one conclusion, and that's fine. But there were others, and some of the other people, like the Psychic Vincent sisters, and like Chris McKennell, the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, they said that no, it was because of Annabelle's demonic energies that wore Dan Rivera down over the years, especially 2025, when with the Devils on the Run tour, they took Annabelle to San Antonio, to West Virginia, to New Orleans, to Gettysburg, all over the place. And I saw her in Gettysburg, but they're claiming, especially the Psychic Vincent sisters, that it was Annabelle's demonic energies that wore Dan Rivera down and eventually killed him. So that's the other option or the other possibility that maybe we need to take a look at. And in my book, The Smurl Haunting, I talk about that. I had to talk to my publisher and some other people about how to go about this, because the chapter is called The Death of Dan Rivera. And we wanted to do this in a respectful way that did not, wasn't trying to capitalize on the fact that he died there and all that, but we told it as the story unraveled. So that was the unfortunate thing. But the other thing too that people need to realize, Lorraine Warren wanted Annabelle to stay in the Warren Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. Stay there in Lock and Key. And Tony Smira and some of the other people with the New England Society for Psychic Research decided to take Annabelle and the other artifacts on the road on tour. And they did this because it was a money-making operation in Gettysburg. According to the Gettysburg Collective, I believe it's called, the newspaper, there were 1,260 people that paid $40 each to see Annabelle in Gettysburg. That was something like $50,000. And then when you count the take from those other places like San Antonio and New Orleans, it was around, give or take, $200,000. Now, that's a lot of money. And then Annabelle kept on going up the line to Maine and some of these other places. So, it wasn't put together, this tour, for any kind of educational edification or anything else like that. It was, an attempt at making money at this thing. So that's fine and well, but let's, call it what it is. And, it was a financial endeavor. I know that some of the folks from the New England Society for Psychic Research pointed their fingers at me for saying that I was celebrating Dan Rivera's death and capitalizing on his death financially. That couldn't be further from the truth. Us authors are forever paying the VIG to our publishers. We're paying down the VIG. We pay our publishers good money to get our books published and promoted. So, so that part's not true, but that's okay. I mean, they could say that, but I could defend what I did and who I am and what my motives are. They need to defend what theirs are and what they did. So, but again, like you say about the drama, this isn't smooth. You always got different camps. You got true believers and people that are skeptics. And and it's funny too. I remember when the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot started to make the rounds, and when I was on the podcast and everything, and a lot of the traditional Bigfooters who just go out there, boots on the ground, didn't like guys like me because we were more academic. We were the woo people, the interdimensional thing. Now, when I talk to these guys, more and more of them are taking a look at the interdimensional theory as a possibility for Bigfoot. So it's come around full circle, so we're now, not exactly happy campers, but we're happier campers than we were. So at least being able to consider other theories and other possibilities is I think what we need to do. And that's mature. That's progressive. So I'm glad that at least a lot of people are thinking along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have an open mind. I mean, that's all it is. Even in paranormal world, what are spirits? Are they trapped here? Or is different dimensions? We don't know. I mean, when we know, it'll be too late. I mean, you have to have an open mind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well,
let's talk about the Warrens real quick. So they did this huge book tour with the Smurls.
Yeah.
To promote. And did they have a lot of I hate to use this word, protests that they were doing this too? Because a lot of non-believers. Did they ever get any pushback in these cities they went to?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the tour with the Smurls, they went with the Smurls in Chicago and New York City. And then after that, they started their 15-city tour in Jim Thorpe. So they went solo. It was just Ed and Lorraine. Okay. As far as the pushback, a lot of people to this day don't like the Warrens. They thought that they were hoaxers. They thought that they exaggerated their evidence. They thought that they hid behind their Catholicism. People didn't like that. But I think the biggest thing, though, was that they were making money. the Warrens were charging $5,000 per appearance at these campuses, and they had appeared in well over 700 campuses. So they were making good money. Plus, they were on all of the talk shows of the day, like Sally Jesse Raphael and Guevara, what's his name? I forget the Puerto Rican guy, Gerardo Guevara. Yeah. So they were on all the programs of the day and getting whatever the little stipend would be, a couple $1,000s for being there. But yeah, they were making money. And because of that, well, they were making money because they were the first out of the box. They were the ones teaching us about demonology, just as Sybil Leek taught the world about witchcraft, over in the UK. So they were pioneers and ambassadors. And I think because they were first, they were climbing that ladder and they had accomplished much. They were making money. And because of that, when you start to get to a certain place of acclaim, of being noticed, there are plenty of people to try to bring you down. And with the Warrens, and then, I had heard about Ed Warren having a girlfriend, an underage girlfriend and everything. And I don't even like to address that and look at that, because that has nothing to do with what he did in the paranormal and my relationship with him and Lorraine. And, but I mean, that's been brought up so many times. But I think that with the Warrens, there were a lot of people that applauded what they did in demonology and how they helped to define it. But there were also a lot of people that disliked them intensely as being con artists and being connivers and all that. So you take your pick. And I mean, I like them. I thought that they were friends. I thought that they were mentors, and I defend them. And but I mean, if you don't like them, that's okay too. So
I mean, people always ask me about something in the paranormal. Like, what do you think about the Warrens? What do you think about the Warrens? I'm like, it's hard. I don't know them. I never met them. I've read some of their stuff, but it's in a paranormal world. You have people that are very good investigators that can't kind of explain what they saw. And you got people that see just a very little bit, but they're very good storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
I always say Ed and Lorraine Warren were both.
Yeah.
They saw the stuff and they were very good at telling a story, about painting the picture, like what I like to call it. So that's why they were good. That's why they were popular, with the public. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that probably see a lot of stuff, but don't know how to talk.
Yeah. So, well, the other thing, you have to know how to frame it. This is what it is. You have to go and talk about it and not, mumble all over the place and stumble over your words and everything. So yeah, they were good. They were articulate. And I know when they were at the Smurl house, the one thing he said, and that's going around on the internet, I don't care what you call him. You could call him a ghost or a demon, but there's something here haunting this house. He was talking about the Smurl house. So that was an interview that he did. The other thing too with the books, all the books that were written, they've been reprinted, and it has Ed and Lorraine Warren at the top. Well, all of these books, as far as I know, were ghost written by other people. Ed and Lorraine didn't write them. They contributed to them. They contributed some. But even with the haunted, the good stuff, the good prose, the artsy stuff, the stuff that's fun to read, that was all Jack Curran. All the other stuff was just information, maybe like a diary that maybe the Smurls wrote. There's some of the things that Ed and Lorraine Warren wrote, but the good stuff was from the really good journalistic stuff came from Bob Curran.
I mean, they just didn't make themselves a little bit of money. I mean, the movies, everything they did. I mean, so you put their name out there, it's gonna sell.
Yeah, and you have to take a look at the fact that with the Conjuring franchise, 9 motion pictures worth $2.7 billion net. I mean, that's something. This was all based on the Warrens. I mean, this is the most successful horror franchise of all time. Ed and Lorraine Warren, like them or not, blame them, castigate them for making money. Come on, we live in a capitalistic society. Ryan, I'm sure you would love trapped souls to be monetized 100 times over. I mean, that would be wonderful, to be rewarded for your good work and your research. And the same thing for me. I mean, it's not that we're making millions and millions of dollars, but we're doing this because we have the love of the craft and we have the passion. And I mean, that's pretty much what I'm all about. I mean, I just love this paranormal realm, trying to find out what it is. What are the boundaries? Where does it begin? Where does it end? So just to go and try to figure that out and write about it and define it. I mean, if that, I'm hoping that that'll be my legacy, that he tried to define what this thing is. So, and that's maybe the best that we can do.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do is your best. Yeah, I mean, making money. I mean, everybody knows you're in the paranormal, you're not making money. You're spending money. That's just the way life is. But I'm fine with that. So, I mean, what else are we going to talk about here?
Yeah, I was going to say, though, that in the book, in the Smurl Haunting, when Ed and Lorraine came to town, what I do is I take a look at the Smurl Haunting, using that as the epicenter. So I compare and contrast other haunted houses, and the famous ones like Amityville, like Hinsdale House, and I compare them against the Smurl Haunting, just to see how they do compare. And then I talk a lot about the rite of exorcism. And what's interesting is Father Amorth was the Vatican's chief exorcist. Now, there was a motion picture around, I want to say 2018, I forget, it was with Russell Crowe. It was called The Pope's Exorcist, which was pretty much true to life. They went over to Spain to check out this house, and this was Russell Crowe. But Father Amorth said this. He said that only 2% of the people that the Catholic Church deals with are actually possessed. I mean, certifiably possessed. All the others are mentally ill. They're dealing with schizophrenia or a Tourette's syndrome or bipolar or something like that. The church has to determine whether or not these people are actually possessed, and then go after, do the exorcism that way. There was an infamous case of a young woman from Germany, Anneliese, who died after days and days of this exorcism. And the German courts charged her parents and these two priests with homicide. And so they no longer are allowed to do official exorcisms in Germany because of her death. Now, they may be doing those under the radar. I don't know, but they're not they're not allowed to do that officially. So, we have to watch what we do. But in the Smurl Haunting, I have a chapter called The 2%. And we take a look at those people that are actually possessed, not mentally ill.
So, of all your interviews and everything, what percentage do you think is demonic compared to just a mean old spirit?
Well, I agree with you that I think that that the majority of them are ghosts and spirits, lost, confused, that may or may not be trying to communicate with us. I think that the demonic entities are there, but I think they're few and far in between, as you allege. So I agree with that. But again, I tell people just to be careful. Now, I'll give you an example of that. With Ouija boards, a lot of people look at a Ouija board and they just think it's a parlor game, and they'll, open it up and they'll try to go and have a spirit present themselves. Okay, and you never know what portal you're gonna open and what's gonna appear. The people that I talk to, they utilize Ouija boards, use them to converse with a specific spirit who will guide them and give them information. Okay, this is the way these folks do it. But if you're going to do it haphazardly and just wait for whatever pops up, I mean, you may get something that you're not able to go and control, and you may not like. So, I mean, know what you're doing. I mean, there's a certain protocol. There's a certain way to do this, common sense way. And, again, I just encourage people to just be more informed and diligent when they go and do their ghost hunting activities. Don't be foolish. Don't be one of the vulnerable ones.
So Almay Paranormal's on here. I work with that group a few times. What do you think about places like Haunted Objects Museums in Gettysburg having a mirror from the Smurl Haunting? Do you think we should have items like that for public to be exposed to?
Well, like Lorraine Warren said, no. I mean, here's the thing. When I went to see Annabelle in July of 2025, Annabelle was in this wooden cage. It was infused with holy water and holy oil. It had crucifixes, 3 crosses. It had the Lord's Prayer on the back, and it was locked in this cage. Father Bob was supposed to be there for the entire time. And when I was there on Friday, July 11th, Father Bob was not there. So he supposedly was in South America. This is what they told me. But again, Annabelle, supposedly he was blessing Annabelle like every so many hours and keeping those demonic energies where they should be. So no, I don't think that we should be parading these things around. I think that they should be under lock and key. I think that you're taking a chance. Again, if we believe in the paranormal, then we believe in the existence of some of us, in the existence of evil and the demonic. And I'm saying, be careful. And certainly the devils on the road tour, what they were not being careful. Again, you had all the things that happened in New Orleans. That I don't think it was a coincidence. I mean, a whole lot of things happened. The largest sugarcane plantation in Louisiana burned down when Annabelle was there. The jailbreak in New Orleans, those 11 guys, some murderers, escaped, an inside job, but still. And then Maria Laveau, the voodoo queen, her residence burned. 3 things that happened when Annabelle was down there. So, I don't think it was a coincidence. I think there was something going on. And I'm just saying, be careful. I think it's full. And then here's another thing too. They shouldn't have taken Annabelle on the road, but here, what just happened recently? Matt, the comedian,
Matt Rife. Yeah.
Matt Rife, the comedian, purchased the artifacts for $1 million, and I think they are on loan. I don't think he actually bought them. I think they're on loan for $1 million. But again, here's a comedian with very little background and expertise in the paranormal, who's in charge of all these artifacts, that the mirrors and Annabelles and everything else that's there, that allegedly are infused with demonic energies. What's that all about? It's not about common sense. It's about making money. That's what it's about. So, that's the one thing that pisses me off. And I mean, let's call a spade a spade. If we have rules and ethics and protocol in the paranormal, then one of those should be, we need to be responsible. And that's just a money grab. I mean, there's some people making a whole lot of money from that. And it's not me and you.
Yeah. Yeah. He bought the Warren's house museum. I always say, like, the artifacts in there are on lease.
Yep.
He doesn't own them. Kind of like an art gallery when people put their pieces in there for so many years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people don't know about, like, they know Matt Rife, but he's been big into paranormal for years. Again, does he know what he's doing? No. Did he buy it so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands? Possible. We will never know.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like Jason Hawes with the Conjuring House. I heard that's supposed to close this week.
Okay. Yeah.
From my understanding.
And what happened there?
That's
something fell through, right? He was trying to buy it.
He was trying to buy it. He had an agreement, but her sister, since she's not mentally stable, I guess, her sister blocked it.
Okay.
But her sister's doesn't have the power of attorney, so they fought it. I guess it just got back to where he can actually purchase it now. So we'll see. But I mean, he kind of wants he doesn't want to run it though. I mean, he wants to buy it to keep it from someone like Matt Rife, I guess, buying it and charging $4,000 a night to go there. Wow. But he wants to preserve the history, so he's gonna probably hire a group or a management group to run it. He doesn't really want to run it. He just wants to preserve the history of the building.
Yeah. Well, again, that's something that we mentioned before. That one of the things that a lot of ghost hunters do, they just try to preserve that culture and the history of the place. So that's that in itself is an honorable thing.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, Good. We're an hour 10 minutes into this right now. So you have another book coming out sooner or later, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I have a book out called the Paranormal Apocalypse. Is this how it ends? And we take a look at end times. And again, Ryan, this whole conversation, you've been, name dropping these topics before I even get to them. But fear is one of the biggest motivators. And I talk in Paranormal Apocalypse. H.P. Lovecraft said that one of the strongest of emotions is fear, but the strongest emotion is fear of the unknown. And so I talk about that in Paranormal Apocalypse, and a lot of us are concerned about how the world's going to end. We take a look at the apocalypse, in the Book of Revelation, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and all that. And I take a look at that, and I look at the possibilities, whether it's a nuclear winter or a pandemic or whatever, whatever it could be, an economic collapse. I mean, but there's a lot of different things, and but the book is getting some great reviews, and it was published a couple months ago, but Hangar One just did the relaunch just about a week ago. So anyway, we're hoping to be able to introduce that book to the public. So I'm really excited about Paranormal Apocalypse. Is that how it ends?
Yeah, I'll pick that up, read that. So
yeah.
So you can check out his website. What's your website again?
Yeah, okay. So if anybody's interested in purchasing any of my books or in just checking me out and seeing about my background, I have a website called Maxim Furek. It's www.maximfurek.com. And you could see, there's books there. And also there's a page where you could contact me directly. So if you're interested in any of the books, autographed, could contact me and we could go and figure out how to do that. Also, I would ask you that if you purchase and read any of my books, please be so kind as to leave a review on Amazon. It's probably the best thing that you could do for us authors. Just as Ryan, for your podcast, what's the best thing people can do for you? Could they like your program or what? I mean, how do you collect these? I mean, is there something they can do or what?
I guess you just like it or just mention it. I mean, I'll post this on Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to throw a comment on there, say appreciate coming on, or if you want to say, hey, this dude's no good, don't go on a show. I don't, it's up to you.
Yeah, okay, either way, yeah.
I'm all about honesty, so.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, it's maximfurek.com. And again, for all the listeners out there, keep on doing what you're doing, and reading and research is important. And hopefully, I think the end result for all of this is that maybe one, we find some answers, and two, we get some respect from the scientific community that we're desperately trying to seek. That's all we want to do. We're not crazy zealots, but we're citizen scientists looking for some answers. So it's a good thing.
All right. Again, everybody that tuned in, I appreciate it. Not many questions, but what do you say to an author? That's he does all of his research. Again, I find it very interesting. You don't really investigate, but you go out there and get the different perspective from people. And that's what makes your book so intriguing to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and you drop them to me. I can, pass it on to him, or vice versa. Just email him through his website and check out his books. Give him a review. You'll like them. I like them. So that's it. Again, Maxim, I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll talk in the future. And that's about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ryan, and continued good luck with Trapped Souls and all your other podcasts. So thank you so much. And hopefully we'll do this again.
We will. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Very good.